It's time for the Saturday Sports Show on WMIX. On your radio at AM 940 and online at mywithersradio.com. Recognized by the Illinois Broadcasters Association as one of the premier radio feature programs in the state. You're about to roam the region with more guests and content courtesy of Crossroads Community Hospital. Live from the Powerhouse, the Saturday Sports Show starts now.
Good morning. Welcome into the Saturday Sports Show on AM 940 WMIX and also streamed live on mywithersradio.com. I'm Danny Zerwinski taking over, moving over a chair, I guess you could say, into the lead position as Chris Hugo and Mike Richardson are away on assignment. Jeff Crow across the way pushing the buttons as we bring you to Saturday Sports Show, brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
And that's exactly right, as we have completed almost 6 weeks of high school football going on as the Mount Vernon Rams played last night. Other teams got games in as well from around the area. There are two more today in the area we'll let you know about later on. On a beautiful fall morning on the last full weekend of September, not a cloud in the sky. The sun is out here on Broadway as we look out our window. Traffic going by as people are out and about beginning their Saturday mornings, Saturdays, period. Lots of things going on in the sports world today around the area. High school football, of course, the main deal. Then, of course, you have a big cross-country meet in Peoria this morning. Mount Vernon is attending. You have also Southern Illinois Junior High School Athletic Association state baseball and softball tournaments going on. Yesterday at Centralia, today at Pinckneyville and Coulterville. Of course, the Dodds baseball team will play at 1:30 today against St. Peter Paul of Waterloo at Coulterville. And at that same time, the Woodlawn Grade School softball team plays at Coulterville against Steelville at 1:30. So Jefferson County well represented in Class S state tournament action today down at Coulterville. The big show this morning, lots of guests going on. We got lots of things going on this morning football-wise. We have we will talk golf. Ryder Cup's going on. We all have soccer and high school baseball leading off the show this morning. Jared Shaner, the head coach of the Mount Vernon Rams. Then we'll have Kerry Martin, head coach of the Marion Wildcats. His team got a big win at Althoff last night. And later on, then Johnny Hollis, head coach of the Sesser-Valier Waltonville Woodlawn Red Devils. They get a big, huge home win last night against Fairfield. Last-minute touchdown gives the Red Devils a win. Then we have a WMIX sports correspondent, John Shadowens, will join us. He took in the Johnston City at El Dorado High School football game last night. The Indians coming out on top by 6 in that one on the road. 9:20. Or so, we'll have Mount Vernon Rams boys soccer coach Jeff Harrison on to talk about his high school soccer season so far. Pairings came out for postseason yesterday. The Rams will participate in the Carbondale Regional later on in the month of October. And at 9:30, surprisingly, a sport that doesn't get a lot of ink, a lot of spotlight in the fall because there's not a lot of teams around here to play it, but the Weber Township Trojans, having a very impressive fall baseball season, are in the midst of the Midland Trail Conference baseball tournament this week out at Woodlawn. We're going to have Sam Root on to talk about his Weber Township baseball Trojans, who are having a tremendous fall sports baseball season. Well, with that, we move on to the scoreboard, and there were a lot of very good football games last night, especially in the South 7 Conference. Of course, a game you heard here on AM 940 WMIX and or watched on mywithersradio.com. The Carbondale Terriers came from behind to beat the Mount Vernon Rams in a close one last night in Jackson County, 35-28. As mentioned, Marion went on the road to Althoff and won 28-18, and Centralia went to Cahokia, struggled but survived, winning 8-0. In the River-to-River Conference last night, Harrisburg beat Heron 48-14, and Murfreesboro at home beat Massac County 38-28 in a closer game than expected. Anna Jonesboro beat Sparta 37-22, DuQuoin over Carterville 35-20, and Nashville beat Pinckneyville 23-22 in another close game, kind of the theme of the evening. In the Black Diamond Conference last night, Carmi beat Vienna 14-13 at home. Chester qualifies for the playoffs. They're 6-0 now after beating Alvarado Trico 48-0. Johnston City gets a huge road win last night at El Dorado 26-20. John Shadowens, our WMIX sports correspondent, as I mentioned, went to that game, and we'll talk to him about that one. And the Red Devils of Sesser-Valier Waltonville Woodlawn with a last-minute touchdown beat Fairfield at home 26-20. Spreading around the region tonight, around the region of high school football in the Cahokia Conference, Breeze Central beat Redbud 36-0. Westcliff beat Carlisle 46-35, and Columbia beat Freeburg 55-14. Mississippi Valley Conference last night. Two teams Mount Vernon played in week 2 and 3. Triad beat Mascoutah 36-33. Jerseyville scored 66 on the road last night at Waterloo, beating the Bulldogs 66-24, and Highland beat Bethalto 35-7. In the Southwestern Conference, Belleville East beat Alton 35-21. Edwardsville over Belleville West 13-0. Collinsville over Granite City 27-15. And East Side, East St. Louis, went to O'Fallon and won last night 34-21. In the Apollo Conference, Charleston beat Mount Zion 56-29 after Charleston got off to a slow start. Effingham beat Paris 25-6, and Mattoon beat Salem 42-14. Little Illini last night, the Eastern Conference. Palestine Hudsonville beat Edwards County in overtime 22-14. Toledo Cumberland over Red Hill 26-0. And Casey Westfield over Oblong 48-27. Little Illini Egyptian. Marshall over Flores 17-7, and Robinson beat Newton 34-13. In the Big 8 Conference, you're probably thinking, well, who is that? That's Mount Carmel. They lost last night to Jasper, Indiana, 56-22. They're the Week 9 opponent for the Mount Vernon Rams. And Week 1 opponent Rochester beat Chatham-Glenwood last night in the CS8, 41-35. Now, if you just tuned in and caught the tail end of those scores, and you're thinking, man, I'd like to see and hear those scores again, go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/WMIX Sports. We've been doing this now for a few weeks. We have all the scores listed, organized, and in order by conferences and affiliation, so you don't have to sit there and look through a jumbled mess of scores and trying to figure out who's what and where. We've got them all divided up and all lined up for you right there on Facebook page, facebook.com/WMIX. And, of course, there are also two other games in the area today. At 12 o'clock in Christopher, it's CZR hosting Hamilton County. That'll be on our sister station, 98.9 Wish FM. And then at 2 o'clock, it's Franklin County's Battle of the East Side as Benton hosts West Frankfort. That game will also be on our sister station, Q106, 106.3 FM, at 2 p.m. Looking around the world of sports, the Ryder Cup going on this morning in Medina outside of Chicago, as that event happening for the 39th time. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later in the show because there is a Southern Illinois connection at the Ryder Cup right now. Good acquaintance of ours here on the show as well as mine up there working the Ryder Cup. Jesse Barge, who is the head pro at Kokopelli Golf Course in Marion, is working as an observer and a referee for several of the matches this weekend. Saw him Wednesday when we made the trip up to Medina to watch the Wednesday practice round. He is up there, and he's an observer in several of the big matches currently on the course right now with the match as a referee for the Phil Mickelson, Keegan Bradley versus Luke Donald, Lee Westwood match. It's not bad. With those kind of names and lineage he walks with. He'll also be an observer today in a yet-to-be-determined name match and also tomorrow in a singles match. We'll talk about that. We'll also start talking about postseason play. IHSA postseason starts to get into high gear next week. Golf regionals for boys and girls. We're going to talk a little bit about that, what's going on there. The soccer seeds and pairings came out for boys soccer as well. We'll get to those, of course, when Jeff Harrison joins us later on in the program. We'll talk MLB. Is this the last weekend of the regular season? The Cardinals in that hunt. And right now looking at a wild card game to get into the playoffs as well. And we'll preview the upcoming week here on WMIX. We have a volleyball game and a football game on this week, Monday and Friday. The Mount Vernon Lady Rams on Monday. And, of course, the Mount Vernon football Rams on Friday night. Want to talk with us, want to chat with us, couple different ways. We have our Facebook page, as I mentioned, facebook.com WMIX Sports. You can go there. You can like us. We have our social media question of the week posted there already. We'd love to hear from you on that. We mentioned that the Ryder Cup is going on, and it's something that doesn't come around very often. It's every 2 years. It doesn't come in this area very often. It was in Louisville 4 years ago, Chicago this year, this week. So we ask you, because the Ryder Cup's a very special event, we ask you, with the Ryder Cup being played in Illinois this week, what is the sporting event you would most like to attend? Several choices: Super Bowl, Final Four, World Series, Daytona 500, maybe a golf tournament, maybe the Stanley Cup Finals. Some sports event that you haven't been to that you'd like to go. One of mine was crossed off the list this week with going to the Ryder Cup practice. So we posted that there. You can follow us also on Twitter at WMIX Sports, because we have that question tweeted there as well. We also tweet all kinds of stuff throughout the day every day with sports information going on. So we need to step out for a break. When we come back, we're going to bring in Jared Shaner, the head coach of the Mount Vernon Rams team. His team took a tough loss last night, 35-28 on the road at Carbondale Lions last night. We'll have him on. This is the Saturday Sports Show brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
And we'll be back for more of the Saturday Sports Show on WMIX.
When an emergency happens, time is everything, and you don't want to spend that time in a waiting room. So choose Crossroads Community Hospital with our 30 minutes or less ER service pledge. The entire team is committed to working diligently to have you initially seen by a physician, physician assistant, or nurse practitioner within 30 minutes of your arrival. When minutes matter, choose the ER that doesn't waste time. Choose Crossroads Community Hospital. Visit crossroadscommunityhospital.com/faster to learn more. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, call 911.
Whether it's 3G Wi-Fi, in-dash navigation, a power sliding rear window, or one of over a dozen other cool available features, the 2012 Dodge Ram 1500 is full of innovations that you may have lived without, but will soon wonder why. Hi, Roy Schmidt Dodge dealer at King City Chrysler Center, Mount Vernon. And for those who might not be tech savvy, the Ram 1500 also boasts in-floor storage bins and available 2-tier center console and the available Ram Box cargo management system. Wow, there's something for everyone in the 2012 Dodge Ram, and now you can get $1,500 rebate plus 0% financing for 84 months. Stop by King City Chrysler Center at 1603 Broadway in Mount Vernon and see one of our sales associates about driving away in a new Ram or any new or pre-owned Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep. Plus, see our inventory on KingCityChrysler.com and find us on Facebook.
Southern Illinois has a new home for the Dan Patrick Show. Jim Rome and Fox Sports Radio. The new 1300, The Fan.
I like that.
Dan Patrick.
I don't think it's good for the sport for Tiger to lose. You know when he's back? When he's holding a trophy from a major.
Sports talk, fueled by fans.
Hey, golf guy, let me give you a piece of advice. Here is one thing you never, ever want to say. I never play this badly.
The new 1300, The Fan. Another Withers broadcasting station. Online at 1300thefan.com.
Welcome back, Saturday Sports Show on WMIX, brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
I didn't mean to catch you off guard there.
That's not a problem.
Danny Zerwinski, Jeff Crow on the buttons across the way, Chris Hugo, Mike Richardson on assignment. We bring in the first guest of the morning, Mount Vernon head football coach Jared Shaner. Coach Shaner, how are you this morning? Yeah.
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing well. I know it's a tough morning, but 35-28 last night. Your team got off to such a great start, played very good football for 3 quarters. Your talk about the start to the game, that was something that we have been waiting, and you obviously been waiting to see from your team to get out that 14-0 lead.
Well, yeah, we did. We played a really good first half, and then even early on, like midway through the third quarter, kids came out and executed really well. It was probably our best half of defense for a long, long time. They just took away everything that Carbondale wanted to do. And offensively moved the ball well, and, we should put 14 on the board in the first half. And the third quarter, they came out and put a little drive together and scored, just 14-7. But offense responded and moved the ball all the way down to the goal line, I think, and fumbled. And, and then they took 2 plays, and it was kind of a train wreck after that.
Speaking of that, you mentioned the defense, and I have got to give credit to you and your staff. Last week, and of course last night, your defense played very well. Has the comfortableness of playing in the 4-3 kind of gotten to them now, and everybody's understanding their roles a lot better this far into the season?
Well, I think so. I think, we need to make some adjustments here and there, but overall I think the kids are beginning to understand, and it's 2 weeks in a row that we've played much better defensively. We'd like to take out, maybe a long run last night or something along those lines, but overall we're definitely defensively. The kids are understanding the scheme and how pieces fit together. That's kind of a key kids, not just in football, but any sport in general, don't always see the big picture. They think about themselves, and that's just part of being a kid. And what I do on this play, but they don't necessarily see how it fits into the big scheme of things. And in football, it's a little bit, sometimes, you might not feel like you're a part of the play being successful, but you being in the right spot or taking on a lead block or something allows somebody else to be free to make a play.
I like you mentioned that, the defense as well. I'd like to expound on another point is the fact that your defense forced some turnovers last night, all different varieties, and I thought that was part of the aggressiveness early that really took Carbondale and knocked them back on their heels.
Yeah, we had a fumble recovery, we had another interception this week, which was big, those are things that weren't happening early on in the season. So it's sometimes hard to see the trees through the forest, I think, but. I do think we are making steps in the right direction. Unfortunately for us, it's just not showing up on the scoreboard. We've had a couple close ones these last couple of weeks, and that becomes really disheartening, really frustrating for everybody. But I think we are making some steps in the right direction.
Steps in the right direction. Another group I'd like to shine a light on, because this group usually doesn't get a lot, is the offensive line. I really thought last night and last week, especially last night, that group came into their own, not working individually, but as a unit to open up holes for that running game that you had going last night.
Well, I was pretty happy with them throughout the entire game, but specifically in the first half, it came out in something a little bit different defensively than what we had prepared for. And after our first series, we got the offensive line together. We talked about just a couple little blocking adjustments, and Ransom plays really nice. Doug Gardner had a good first half. We felt like they were kind of giving us some stuff up the middle, and really trying to take away our perimeter run stuff. So that's exactly what we did. We pounded the ball in the middle with Doug. It worked out well. In the second half, we got out to the edge a little bit more, made a couple blocking adjustments because of their alignment, and we got really 6 or 7 kids that play pretty consistently on the offensive line, and they've been doing a pretty nice job the last 2 games.
Running back by committee last night, Lloyd, Grider, Gardner, Reeves, you name it, there was players out there, DeMontez Miller-Gray as well. You're getting a stable of running backs right now, it seems to me, that you can throw out there and kind of throw fastball, changeup, curveball at the defense. With the offensive line progressing, this is going to start becoming a major power factor, not only this year, but next year with the ability to run the football like you've been able to do.
Well, that's definitely the goal. One thing about this offense, and the reason that I was turned on to it a long time ago was that you don't have to necessarily have one tremendous running back that's going to get the ball, 20, 22, 25 times a game, like maybe somebody in the eye or something like that. But you just got to have a bunch of kids that want to work hard and block for each other. I think the kids are starting to get that. We've still got some progress to make, but as you said, really, we played exactly one senior in the offensive backfield last night. That was Clayton Reeves, our quarterback. And the 5 or 6 running backs that played are all sophomores or juniors. And we did not play a senior on the offensive line. So I take that back. Jacob Stern played at guard for us some. But the rest of the other 4, 5, 6 guys that played offensive line are all sophomores or juniors. So, we have some youth there, and as long as we can keep, I think, taking some strides and improving, that's really ultimately what we're trying to do.
Strides are being taken, and we can see that, especially last 2 or 3 weeks. This team obviously getting much, much better. Going in the next week, Cahokia at home, the most distracting thing to coach, homecoming. How are you going to get your kids focused with homecoming next week and a tough opponent like Cahokia coming to town?
Well, we've already talked about it. As homecoming's about a lot of things, but when you're a football player and a football coach, I'm pretty blunt with the kids about it. Homecoming sucks if you lose your football game. That's really kind of my point. You got a lot of people that played before, a lot of family and friends that come back. There's always a good crowd, and you don't want to disappoint those people, and you want to feel good about how you performed. And then, you get up the next day, and it's a big deal for high school kids. I think as coaches, sometimes we downplay the other things, but they're just as important in, the development of a kid. Things like homecoming dances and dates and going out for supper and all those little things. But what we'll hammer to the kids this week is, that's all well and good, and those things are fun, and they're a part of it. But, boy, if you don't win that game, or play well at least, the rest of it, there's just a little bamper on it.
Speaking of being blunt, our final question, as you know, is we like to come up with different questions. Our WMIX Sports social media question of the week. This week's question is, with the Ryder Cup going on in Chicago, I had a chance to go to that this week. That's a big special sporting event. What sporting event that you haven't been to would you like to go to knock it off your sports bucket list?
Well, I'm gonna steal a page from Jeff Wannon, our girls basketball coach. Jeff just went to Notre Dame Michigan football game last weekend at Notre Dame, and I'm not a fan of either Notre Dame or Michigan, but I am a fan of football, obviously, and I just think Notre Dame is one of those places that has such a rich history and tradition, and you get a rivalry like that, and I think that would be a pretty neat experience. And I know Jeff had a great time, and something he said he would definitely want to do in the future. So I think a Notre Dame Michigan football game would be a neat thing.
Well, we want a neat thing too. We saw great progress last night. We know we're going to see wins in the future. We look forward to that game next week at home with Kokia. Coach, thanks for being on the show with us.
Danny, thanks for having me every week. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's Jared Shaner, Mount Vernon Rams football coach. The Rams will play Kokia next week at home. You can listen to that game on AM 940 or watch it live on mywithersradio.com. We need to step out for a break. When we come back, Kerry Martin, the head coach of the Marion Wildcats football team, will join us after his big win at Althoff last night. This is the Saturday Sports Show brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Back with more.
Learn to live healthy, learn to live well, and learn how you can live free from unexpected medical expense with a major medical expense policy from Pekin Insurance and the Page Agency. Health insurance that covers hospital, medical, and surgical expenses offers a wide choice of deductibles and a non-tobacco user discount, too. Rising medical costs don't have to be a problem with a major medical expense policy from Pekin Insurance. This is coverage we hope you'll never need, but you just can't be without. Call the Page Agency at 242-7000 about a major medical health insurance plan today.
The Orthopedic Center of Southern Illinois proudly welcomes Dr. Brian Steinke to their medical staff. Dr. Steinke is an orthopedic surgeon specializing in spine surgery, treatment of the injured back, and will provide the newest state-of-the-art procedures in the region. Dr. Steinke is fellowship trained in spine and brings prestigious credentials to the center. Dr. Steinke will be seeing patients at the Mount Vernon and Centralia locations. To set up your appointment with Dr. Steinke, call 242-3778 or visit their informative website at orthocenter-si.com. Discover the difference.
Select a checking account that pays you interest. People's National Bank introduces People Select Checking. It has all the services you have come to expect from People's National Bank. Visa debit card, online banking, bill pay, and unlimited check writing. And you can earn 0.17% annual percentage yield on balances over $1,000. Visit me, Melody True, at 522 Main Street in Mount Vernon to start earning interest on your checking account.
People's National Bank, member FDIC, $100 to open. Rate may change after account opening. APY is accurate as of September 2nd, 2012. Fees could reduce earnings on account.
Welcome back to the Saturday Sports Show. Chris Hugo, Mike Richardson on assignment. I'm Danny Zerwinski with Jeff Crow on the buttons. And joining us now is the very happy Kerry Martin after the Wildcats went to Althoff last night and beat the Crusaders on their home field. Coach Martin, I know the answer to this, but how are you feeling this morning?
Well, I feel good. It's a lot of work to win a ball game, and when you win one, you celebrate it, and it feels good this morning, of course, as always, to win a ball game, and especially against a really good football team.
Speaking of that, I want to go back a couple of weeks. You were 3-0. Kokia came in and kind of snuck in back door and got you. You beat Mount Vernon last week by 1. Did it seem to me, I don't know if it seemed to you and your staff, did it seem like going into this week you had a few more questions to answer about your team than you did maybe 2 weeks previous before?
Yeah, we had talked about it a lot, how well we had played the first 3 weeks and got off to a great start, and then we stumbled a little bit, and I have to give credit to both Kokia and Mount Vernon for playing really good ball games against us, and we made turned the ball over in the Kokia game quite a bit, couldn't get the ball back from Mount Vernon last week, and they just did a great of controlling the clock. And, but those things happen, and we had a lot of questions. I think there's a lot of things that we saw last night that were more indicative of the first 3 games of the season than the last 2. So, we feel like maybe we're back on track a little bit and got our confidence back a little bit. But, every week's a new challenge, and we know that next week's going to be maybe even a bigger challenge, the biggest one we've had yet.
Speaking of challenges, you went over and last night played in that newly renovated Lindenwood Stadium with the red and white turf and the whole entourage of things they've done over there. Tell our listeners who will get to go there next year, especially our Mount Vernon fans, what you saw and what that was like playing on that fancy-colored turf over there.
Well, it wasn't as big a deal as I thought. When you see it on film or you see a picture of it, and it alternates between maroon and gray all the way down the field. It's an odd-looking surface to play on. Actually, it was a great surface. The surface itself, the color's odd, but the surface was great. They've done a lot of renovations there, and as a coach, that stadium needed some renovations. It's got a neat history with it, but it needed some help. And they've taken care of the sidelines. There's lots of room on the sidelines. It's very comfortable. The locker rooms are first-rate. The stadium has kept kind of its old feel to it, but it was a really, really good place to play a high school football game. The new scoreboard. And so, no complaints. I just thought it was a great place to play. Once the game gets going, once you get through pregame, you kind of forget about what the turf looks like. You just play football. But I think people will like it.
Speaking of that game, you get an Althoff team who's coming probably fighting mad after that tough loss to Centralia. They kick a field goal to go up 3-0, but after that, your team took over. Touchdowns everywhere. You scored the next 3 touchdowns in the game. You had to feel pretty good, at least going into halftime, having the advantage you had of 7-3. But as I read in the paper, you mentioned pace of game, something we saw last week. Your guys picked it up offensively in the pace of the game and tried to wear Althoff out last night.
Well, and more than anything, I think the touchdown before half was huge. It gave time. That momentum at halftime is just a huge deal, and we felt confident that things were starting to click. And you still there?
Yes, we're still here. Yes.
I'm sorry, something happened to my phone, but we felt confident we were going to be okay. I just we've had some success with them in the second halves of ball games the last few years, and I think this week was kind of the same. So kids responded the second half. Third quarter was a big quarter for us. But yeah, it was a good effort, and I think the score before half was big.
Henry Jones, running back for you, a couple touchdowns last night. He's starting to come into his own a little bit, isn't he?
He really is. Shaquille Ivey got hurt last year in the 5th game of the season, and Henry became the starter in the Althoff game a year ago, and just had a great final push of the year for us, and really kind of carried that weight that Shaq had been carrying, and he's just continued this season for us, doing a great job. He's a good receiver. He's a good blocker. He's a good runner. I call him my blue-collar guy. He's a hard-nosed runner, runs hard every single down. And I think as the games wear on, as defenses get a little more tired, I think he gets more effective.
How important was it? Matt Lewis last night, 16 of 27, 185 yards. How important was that for confidence for him to go on the road, guide your team, and get a win heading into the last 3 weeks of the regular season?
I think it was, and Matt had a few mid-season struggles there, and not all his fault. Some of the interceptions he threw were balls that should have been caught that he put right on the money. But anyway, when you're credited with those interceptions or things like that, it does hurt your confidence a bit. And I felt like Matt gained some of that back last night. He played a really solid game, made some great throws, threw in some nice windows, some tight windows down the field, and I think that the team could feel Matt was back a little bit, and so it was a good night. He spread the ball around quite a bit to a lot of different receivers, which is important to us, and just a really good night for him, leadership-wise and execution-wise.
Speaking of that, you're now 5-1 on the year. You get to go to Centralia next week before Carbondale and then Harrisburg. Or not, take that back. You get Normandy in Week 9. Tough stretch next week at Centralia. After getting this big win at Althoff, how's it going to be to get your kids back on the earth and get them ready to go and say, hey, we still got Centralia this week, even though we went to Althoff and won?
Well, we try not to pin all of our hopes in one ball game, and we try not to make one game tremendously bigger than the rest of them. We want our kids to, as I've said many times, just play with a tremendous amount of enthusiasm and don't play with emotion. Emotion is a roller coaster, and if you've got it one week, it's hard to get back up emotionally the next week. But I think you can always generate some enthusiasm. And kind of a lesson, having studied football and watching the NFL teams, they play a long schedule, and they don't get too emotional about it. They do play with a lot of enthusiasm. I think that's something our kids are learning to do, is to play with enthusiasm, not emotion. Remember that this is one game. It's important, but we've still got more to go. And our kids know this final 4-game stretch is a big stretch for us with Althoff, Centralia, Carbondale, and Normandy out of St. Louis. So, it's a tough 4-game stretch, but we're excited for the challenge, and we're excited to go to Centralia and play a really quality football team at their place.
The South 7 Conference, it's cut my old hat now. You guys go up to Althoff and win. It used to be it didn't that way, but the whole conference as a whole, every week is such a brutal game. You have to have your A game every week now when you go out.
Well, it's true, and we playing Mount Vernon last week and throw the record out. I mean, they came and they played physical, and they played tough, and they executed well, and there is no night off. There isn't a night you can kind of sit back on your heels a little bit and say, hey, we got this. I don't even care what the score is. Last night we were up 3 scores with about a minute to go in the third quarter. With about 2 minutes expired in the fourth quarter, they're within 3 points. I mean, the things can happen really fast, and the teams never quit. There's a lot of talent on the field, and just a real tribute to the coaching staffs in the conference. And they got their kids ready. You have a bad series, you have a bad quarter, people get back into ball games. I mean, you guys, I'm sure, have seen that as well this year. And so it isn't just being ready every week. It's making sure you play 4 quarters of football to get that win.
Speaking of playing 4 quarters, you got to play 4 quarters with us too. As you know, we have our WMIX Sports social media question of the week. This to end our interview. This week with the Ryder Cup going on, one of those big premier sporting events, we're asking all our guests, what is the one sporting event that you haven't been to that you'd like to go to knock that one off your bucket list of sporting events to go to?
Wow. Well, I'm sure it's going to sound, like what every football coach would say, but I've never been to a Super Bowl, and I would love to go to a Super Bowl. It's something I've thought about, the premier game in my sport. That's what I would love to do. I hope sometime I get a chance to go to a great city and enjoy the festivities for 2 or 3 days prior to the game, to be able to watch the game and just take all of it in, because it's become such a huge part of the American culture. I'd love to experience that one time.
Would it matter if your team was there or not, or just to go in general?
Well, you're talking to a Dolphin fan, and so the chances of my team being at that level anytime soon probably isn't real great. So I just enjoy it for what it is, and I've been a Dolphin fan since I was about 6 or 7 years of age, and lately that's not been a real good thing. So just to go, I don't care who's playing, just to be able to go and experience the whole atmosphere.
Coach, we appreciate you joining the show this morning. We wish you nothing but the best the rest of the way. And 5-1, go on and win some more games, and good luck to your team the rest of the way.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Kerry Martin, Marion High School head football coach, joining us. I got a big win last night on the road at Althoff, and next week we'll head through our town on the interstate and go play the Centralia Orphans next week. And it will be one of the, if not the premier high school football games in the area. We need to step out for a break. When we come back, we will go over scores from last night, talk about some more about our social media question of the week, and preview and let you know about an exciting fundraiser coming to Mount Vernon High School next week. You're listening to the Saturday Sports Show, brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Back for more here on WMIX.
Listen up, Harley lovers. I have some bad news.
Oh, no.
And some good news. Hi, this is Matt Watercutty from Dale's Harley Davidson in Mount Vernon. First, the bad news. Now, don't jump to any conclusions here, but we're closing the store. Now, hold on. It's just for one day. Yep, we'll be closed for one day only. That's Wednesday, September 26th. After all, we have to restock the store sometime, so we thought a Wednesday would be okay. Now here's the good news. When we reopen on Thursday the 27th, we'll not only have a bunch of brand new inventory arriving, but you'll find prices marked way down on end-of-the-season motorcycle apparel and obsolete parts. And to make up for being closed for a day, we'll have live music, food, and prizes for you. So relax, okay? Dale's Harley Davidson, the longest-running Harley dealer in Southern Illinois, just off I-57 on North 44th in Mount Vernon. Call us 618-244-4116. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or visit us at dales-hd.com.
When an emergency happens, time is everything, and you don't want to spend that time in a waiting room. So choose Crossroads Community Hospital. With our 30 minutes or less ER service pledge, the entire team is committed to working diligently to have you initially seen by a physician, physician assistant, or nurse practitioner within 30 minutes of your arrival. When minutes matter, choose the ER that doesn't waste time. Choose Crossroads Community Hospital. Visit crossroadscommunityhospital.com/faster to learn more. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, call 911. Southern Illinois has a new home for the Dan Patrick Show. Jim Rome and Fox Sports Radio. The new 1300, The Fan.
I like that. Dan Patrick. Do you think the commissioner has made a mistake?
The facts that have been presented thus far do not back up the punishment that's been levied.
Sports talk, fueled by fans.
And the NCAA would have even less credibility and legitimacy than they don't have right now.
The new 1300 The Fan. Another Withers broadcasting station. Online at 1300thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Saturday Sports Show, brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Chris Hugo and Mike Richardson away on assignment, so you get me, Danny Zerwinski, on the mic, and Jeff Crow across the way, getting me on and off the air perfectly. We were laughing on break. The Ryder Cup going on. We have it on in here. At least I can see it. He can't, but I can see it. And the USA is up in all 4 matches this morning already. If that holds true to form, the route could be on up north in Chicago. What a time that was. We'll get to that later. Anyway, let's get some scores from last night in high school football around the area. Of course, if you want to see these in neat order like we like to do all the time, we have for a while, in order by conference, go to our Facebook page, facebook.com WMIX. Let's see, start that over again. Facebook.com/WMIX Sports. You can see them all in order. Yeah, can you believe they let me on radio? That's hard to believe. Here we go. South 7 Conference last night. Carbondale beat Mount Vernon 35-28. Marion over Althoff 28-18. And Centralia shuts out Cahokia 8-0 on the road. River to River last night. Harrisburg over Heron 48-14. Murfreesboro beats Massac County 38-28. AJ over Sparta in a closer game many people thought, 37-22. DuQuoin has won 4 in a row. The Sleeping Giant is rocking. The Indians beat Carterville 35-20. And Nashville beats Pinckneyville last night 23-22. Black Diamond, Carmi over Vienna, 14-13. Chester over El Dorado Trico, 48-0. Johnson City over El Dorado, 26-20. And the Red Devils of Sesser-Valier, Waltonville, Woodlawn. We'll have Johnny Hollis on here in just a few minutes. Beat Fairfield at home, 26-20. The other scores of interest for some of our area, our region fans. Cahokia Conference, Breeze Central over Redbud, 36-0. Westglen over Carlisle, 46-35, and Columbia beat Freeburg 55-14. That's a lot of points in the Cahokia Conference last night. Mississippi Valley, Highland over Bethalto, 35-7. Triad over Muscuda, 36-33, and Jerseyville over Waterloo, 66-24. Southwestern Conference, Belleville East over Alton, 35-21. Edwardsville over Belleville West, 13-0. Collinsville over Granite City, 27-15, and East St. Louis over O'Fallon, 34-21. The Apollo Conference, Charleston beat Mount Zion, 56-29. Effingham over Paris, 25-6. And Mattoon beat Salem, 42-14. Little Illini, Pal Hutt beat Edwards County, 22-14 in overtime. Toledo Cumberland over Red Hill, 26-0. Casey Westfield over Oblong, 48-27. Marshall beat Flora, 17-7. And Robinson beat Newton, 34-13. Jasper, Indiana beat Week 9 Mount Vernon opponent Mount Carmel last night, 56-22. Interesting score. And Rochester, Week 1 Mount Vernon opponent beat Chatham Glenwood last night, 41-35. Got a friend of mine rolling up through that direction right now, heading to Peoria. Rolling through the Rochester, Chatham Glenwood area. If you want to find those scores, go to facebook.com/WMIX Sports. You can find those in order by conference affiliation, all the way through nice and neat. We want to mention an event coming up this week at Mount Vernon High School. It's the Mount Vernon Township High School Special Olympics fundraiser. It's the Slam Jam fundraiser to benefit the Mount Vernon High School Special Olympics / Project Unify. It's this Wednesday at Shagnon Gymnasium at 6:30 p.m. If you know someone who would like to compete in the free throw contest, 3-point and or dunk contest, 1, 2, or all events to win cash prizes, this event's for you. Admission for non-participants is $3 with student ID and $5 for adults. raffle tickets available for an autographed Dwight Howard shirt. Yes, Jeff Crow, you can fill in a raffle ticket for Dwight Howard autographed shirt. However, it's still his autograph, but it's on his former team, the Orlando Magic. You can have that if you'd like. That's this Wednesday night. I'll read that more later. We've got it on our Facebook page as well. Facebook.com/WMIX Sports. Go there and like us while you're there as well. Follow us on Twitter at WMIX Sports. Speaking of following, the following is growing. Last night, the Sesser-Valier Waltonville Woodlawn Red Devils got a big win at home last night against the Fairfield Mules, and the Red Devils coach Johnny Hollis joins us. Coach Hollis, did you get any sleep last night?
Oh man, I was pretty excited. It was hard, but it was a good sleepless night. You know, it was better than the alternative. So we're very excited about how our kids played last night, and it was kind of neat because it was homecoming, and it always makes it nice to win that game.
Crawling back to 500, 3-3, how hard has it been to get your kids? You stumbled out of the gate a little bit, but then get your kids to get back to 500 now heading into the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we've, I give a lot of credit to our staff. You know, we were emotionally drained this week. I didn't realize how hard it was to coach a football team during homecoming week. I mean, it's bananas trying to keep everybody focused. But our staff, man, we just tried to put the best plan together that we could, and our guys are just really working hard with the kids, and the kids responded to the coaching, and everything came together last night for us. You know, it was a tough game throughout, and we made some good defensive stands, and our offense made a long drive, and we were able to win the game there in literally the last minute.
Speaking of last minute, your team gets down last night early by a couple of touchdowns, and you had to be thinking at that point, what can we do? What's going on here? How resilient will this team be? But your team battled back, scoring the next 3 touchdowns to get back in and take the lead. You had to feel pretty good about the fight in your team at that point with a 2-3 team.
We sure did. We caught a glimpse of that first game of the year against Johnson City. You know, we went down 21-0 and then came back to like 21 at half. So, you know, the kids just kept fighting, and we kept encouraging instead of getting upset with them and, you know, ripping them. So I think that helped, and just trying to stay positive. The kids, like I said, they responded. I mean, we were down 14-0 with 11:32 in the second quarter. So we went down pretty quickly. But then, you know, with 29 seconds to go in the second quarter, we were up 20-14. So we scored 20 points there in the second quarter and held them scoreless in the second quarter. That was a huge quarter for us.
I looked at that, and I was getting ready to bring up that point. You allowed Fairfield 20 points in the second quarter. They had to lead 20-14 at half. After that, they had 6 points. Your defense must have made some major changes and some major plays to shut out what a Fairfield team has had a lot of high expectations coming in this year.
Well, we got some momentum right there before halftime, and offensively, you know, we scored some touchdowns, and, you know, a lot of our kids are two-way players, you know, and we've got to be in good shape for the kids to be able to play like they do on both sides of the ball. So the kids that were on offense were having success, and I think that kind of carried over into the third quarter on the defensive side of the ball. Our kids were really excited at halftime about what had transpired in the second quarter, so, you know, yeah, we made some adjustments, and like I said, I've tried to surround myself with guys that are not only knowledgeable in football, but that are just good coaches and good people, good character guys. So, you know, we did do some things at halftime that helped, but at the same time, I mean, I can't take all the credit. You know, our coaches don't want to take all the credit. Our kids just played their guts out in the second half.
Speaking of playing their guts out, senior leadership is also a great thing. You're getting that for the quarterback position. Trey Widges last night, 13 of 19, 183 yards, 3 touchdown passes. Obviously, he is stepping up in his final football campaign in high school to lead this team and try to get them back to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Trey is one of those kids, for whatever reason, you have kids that come through that are really talented, but they just don't have much confidence. And we've really been trying to coach him up on that, you know, just showing him on film, hey, man, you know, you make plays. You know, on the basketball floor, he's pretty confident, but for some reason out here, I don't know if it's because he's slight build or what it is, but we've been working through things with him to get him more mentally tough. And last night, something clicked. And he's always made plays for us, but last night he was on a different level for us. And that just takes our team to the next level. I mean, he's a big part of why we won last night. You know, I talked to my seniors at halftime, about, I am not going to let you fail tonight, and you don't let me fail. And we kind of challenged each other, and Trey was one of those seniors that stepped up. And, at the end of the game, he kept saying, I want the ball, I want the ball. And when Trey says that, he means he wants to throw it. So, anyway, he did. He kind of took over the game for us last night. They were shutting down Hood pretty good. They had a good game plan against him, our good running back, and so we were able to air it out and win the game.
As you head into the final 3 weeks of the season, as a box score watcher, kind of like with baseball, I do the same with high school football, and I'm seeing more names popping up, more people contributing on your team as you grow there in your first year with all these guys coming in. How is that going to be as it plays out this year, as you get more and more guys in and involved in the scheme as you go along in the last 3 weeks of the season?
Well, it's huge for us. I mean, we've got some playmakers and some younger kids that are going to be good ball players, and that's part of my scheme. That's part of what we try to do. We try to be multifaceted, and be very versatile and not just be one-dimensional. And I think as we grow as a staff and as a program the next couple of years, I think you're going to see that even more. We don't like for the opponent to be able to pinpoint one thing. And so we try to spread the ball around and make it tough on the defense.
Speaking of opponent making it tough, you beat Fairfield at home. You're all wound up and excited. You got homecoming out of the way, because I'm here to tell you all these football coaches dread homecoming. You may as well get used to that.
No kidding.
Well, you have Carmi coming in next week. They get a tough win last night, 14-13. They did lose a player, one of their best players, to injury. You get a Carmi team coming in. How homecoming's done and over with. How are you going to be able to get your kids back on earth and focus on what is a good Carmi team coming in next week?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a little bit of a trap game for us. I don't know. We were so high emotionally. But I saw something in my kids' eyes last night after the game that I've not seen in that team. That team has not had much success all the way up through grade school, whether it be in basketball or whatever that they've done. And they've started to get a taste of this thing, and they're really excited about it. And I think this week they're going to work harder than ever. I know Carmi is a good team, a great coach. I really respect Coach Simon. And regardless of whether they have their quarterback or not, I know that they're always tough. They do the basics. They're the fundamentals. They do them well, and they do them all the time. And they do them right because they're coached right. And so, we're not going to we don't overlook anybody. We're not good enough to do that. And so we're going to really try to keep our kids focused this week and have a good scheme for them so that we can give Carmi a good game.
Carmi comes into town. Alvarado Trico, Week 8, favored to win. Then you go to El Dorado. The possibility is there of a fourth straight playoff berth, isn't it, for the Red Devils?
I think we're actually now in a place where we could say that the doors are opening for us. I mean, we've got a lot of work to do yet, and we're not going to be able to just step through that door easily. I mean, we're going to have to go get it, and we've got some teams in front of us that are good ball teams. So, I think it's attainable for us, especially the way we're gelling. And one of the biggest parts for us right now is we're healthy, and I think that's making a huge difference. I think that made a difference last night. I know, Fairfield had their best fullback was out, and then they had a kid hurt during the game. So, we're lucky right now. We're staying healthy, knock on wood, and so anyway, yeah, we're excited about the possibilities.
Speaking of possibilities and being excited, when you join us, the final question is our WMIX Sports social media question of the week. And we asked this week, with the Ryder Cup going on, I had a chance to go up this week for the practice round on Wednesday, one of those big-time sporting events that people like to go to. We ask you, what big-time sporting event would you like to attend to knock it off your sports bucket list?
Every year, my dad, my brother, and I, we all get together and we watch the BCS National Championship game. And I think it was so fun to go with my dad and my brother sometime to see that game wherever it's at. I think that'd be really enjoyable. Just the atmosphere and the college scene and atmosphere and everything that's going on there.
You may get your chance at that because when they change this system, St. Louis is one of those towns in the running for that football game. You might get your chance to actually see it close.
Man, that would be sweet. I'd have to ask the wife if I could have a little bit of money to go do that.
Hey, Joy, thanks for being on the show. Good luck next week with Carmi. We look forward to talking to you in the next few weeks as the Red Devils make that push toward the playoffs.
I appreciate it, Danny.
Thank you. Johnny Hollis, head coach of the Sesser-Valier Waltonville Woodlawn Red Devils football team looking to get in the playoffs for the fourth straight year in a row. Had a big win last night at home over Fairfield. As we sit here, I look, things to do, people to see, notes to read. How are we so far? Are we okay? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's remind you again, speaking of our social media question, go to facebook.com/WMIX Sports. You can go there and answer our question. What sporting event would you like to go to that you haven't been to that you'd like to knock off your sports bucket list? Post it there and like us while you're there. Or we'd like you to follow us on Twitter at WMIX Sports. We need to step out for a break. When we come back, WMIX sports correspondent John Shadowens will join us. He went to the Johnston City at El Dorado football game last night. He'll have a report. We'll talk to him about that and other scores and events in the high school football world. You're listening to the Saturday Sports Show on WMIX, brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Back with John Shadowens in a bit.
This is WMIX, Mount Vernon, Marion, another Withers broadcasting station.
If your definition of local is Southern Illinois and adjacent states, pay no attention to this message. Hi, I'm Joe David Cummins, President of Community First Bank. Others advertise the message of being a local community bank. However, Community First Bank is the only local community bank exclusively serving Jefferson County with 5 locations and 5 ATMs. In short, loans and deposits stay local and benefit you.
Community First Bank with locations in Mount Vernon, Woodlawn, Dix, and Ina. Welcome back to Personal Banking. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
When an emergency happens, time is everything, and you don't want to spend that time at a waiting room. So choose Crossroads Community Hospital with our 30 minutes or less ER service pledge. The entire team is committed to working diligently to have you initially seen by a physician, physician assistant, or nurse practitioner within 30 minutes of your arrival. When minutes matter, choose the ER that doesn't waste time. Choose Crossroads Community Hospital. Visit crossroadscommunityhospital.com/faster to learn more. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, call 911.
Welcome back to the Saturday Sports Show. What's the matter, Mr. Crow?
Just the music. Never heard that one before.
Well, I won't name names, but you and I did not put the bumper music in, but I've been pleased so far.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
No, it's been good.
Very good music. Anyway, Chris Hugo, Mike Richardson are on assignment. I'm Danny Zerwitsky. Jeff Crow alongside, pushing the buttons to get me on and off the air. And we bring in our WMIX sports correspondent, John Shadowens, to the show as he attended the Johnson City El Dorado game last night. And, John, the first question I got to ask is, have you got the Black Diamond Conference football season figured out yet?
Well, I'm not sure that anybody does, Danny. It's been really fun the last 2 or 3 years. We've got a clear-cut winner, this year in Chester, I think. Last year we had Carmi. But, after that it gets kind of dicey. And, it just makes for good football and a good time for the fans, doesn't it?
I think you mentioned the fact that Chester's probably head and shoulders better than everybody else, 6-0. They're in the playoffs now. They qualify. El Dorado, Vienna, Carmi, and Johnson City are 4-2. Fairfield and the Red Devils are 3-3. CZR still 1-4. It's amazing the number of teams through 6 weeks that still have a shot to be in the playoffs in this conference.
Yeah, and it's like that every year. It seems like in a close conference, you're going to end up with anywhere between 4 and even 6 teams that are going to qualify. And at this time of the year, week 6, week 7, you're still going to have a lot of people in contention, and it makes for a lot of fun.
Speaking of a lot of fun, you had another great game to see last night. You attended the Johnson City at El Dorado football game. 2 teams kind of going in different directions last night going in. Johnson City stubbing their toe lately. El Dorado off and on, early big, kind of stubbed now. Did you think Johnson City could go in and win that game at El Dorado before that game started?
I knew they had better. That's what I thought. And since I hadn't seen El Dorado since week 1, I was very interested to see what kind of progress they had made, knowing they had lost their quarterback. And it was just a game that Johnson City had to win, and watching those kids gut that thing out in the second quarter was the second half was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun for Johnson City to get that win. I'm a box score reader. I told our previous guests, hey, I read the box scores. And I'm looking at this game, El Dorado and Johnson City. El Dorado led at half 14-6. El Dorado's running game, obviously everybody knows about it. 46 rushes last night, only 205 yards. Ran the football a lot, but didn't seem like they got a lot of places when they did it.
No, that's true, and I was very interested in Johnson City's defensive game plan. They come out, Danny, in a 5-4. I mean, we're going back to the 50s and 60s there. A 5-4 defense with a 2-deep secondary on the first play of the game, and they switched in and out of that all night long with a 6-2 3-deep. You know, that's old-time football. But you have to, because El Dorado is playing old-time football. And Johnson City was saying, you know, we're not going to let Dylan Roberts beat us. We're going to make your backup quarterback throw the football. We're going to make you run a Deaton number 8 at us and see if you can beat us with them. And I think they held it. I kept my own stats, and I think they held Roberts to under 90 yards. I had him for 20 carries for 89 yards, and that's a heck of a job on Big Dylan Roberts. Another key factor that happened early in the fourth quarter, Roberts started cramping up, and they had to stop the game a couple of times, go out to a 10-10, because you know once cramps start, they're not going to stop that night. And losing Roberts in that way was big for the Eagles as well.
I look at this game, too, and I see you mentioned Johnson City had the win. They've had some struggles going on. But they get a passing game. They were 2 of 4 for 60 yards. More efficient passing for Johnson City last night, what it looks like to me in the box score, than what they have had in past weeks.
Yeah, Johnson City last night, their game plan was to come out and spread. In the first 2 possessions, they stuck with that. The passing game was those smoke screens out to the flat. And they did a good job with that. They got the ball in some playmakers' hands, and they made some plays. But they weren't down-the-field passes. The one down-the-field pass they had was to Davison, their tight end, in the fourth quarter, and it was huge. It was a little play-action pass. He just ran a simple flag route, a basic play that most folks have in their playbook. He got in behind the El Dorado secondary, and they tied the game up at that point.
Is this a win? And I'm looking at 2 different ways. Johnston City gets this win. Does this kind of get them back on the right track? But this loss for El Dorado home, could you see that kind of coming back to haunt El Dorado at the next 3 weeks as far as confidence goes?
Oh, absolutely. El Dorado, I think, you know, that they were very emotional. And that's one thing that the El Dorado kids and their coaching staff, that's the way they coach and play. They play on emotion. And I remember hearing Kerry Martin talk to you a little bit earlier in your show about he wants to avoid that. He wants to avoid playing with emotion. He likes to play with enthusiasm and intensity. And, you know, that's one philosophy. The El Dorado staff and kids, they want the crowd in it, and they're always asking for that extra bit of, I guess you'd call it momentum from the crowd, and that's the way they like to play, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, that's their philosophy. So when you get beat in a game like that, the problem with when you play with emotion like that, when you get beat and it doesn't work for you, then you've got to start back from square one and pick yourself back up and go to Chester next week, and you know. And then you got Sesser-Valier waiting in week 9 if you're El Dorado, and that's not going to be a picnic either. So, you know, their backs against the wall now as well.
Speaking of last night, we'll go around the Black Diamond last night, and Carmi picks up a big win against Vienna 14-13, but they lose one of their best players last night to injury. Don't know if he's going to be able to return soon or not.
No, that's true. I had a chance to listen to Kurt after the game last night when I was on my way driving back home, and I just can so relate to the mixture of emotions. Kurt was so proud of his kids I think they lost Sailor early. I believe it was the first quarter that Sailor went down. And those Carmi kids gutted out a win against a quality Vienna team and eked out of there with a win. And, you know, you're so proud of your kids, but at the same time, the kid that means so much to them. I mean, he's their quarterback, and some nights their best running back. He's their kicker. He's their punter. When something like that happens to you, I mean, it's a domino effect, and you got to play 3.5 quarters without him. What a job by Bobby Carmi Bulldogs and Kurt Simon. And now they got to do it all over again. They got a week to prepare now for Sesser-Valier, and that's going to be a dogfight without.
When you get into that, and as a coach, you've been there where you've got a guy that you're relying on, that he's an experienced player. All of a sudden, he goes down in the heat of the moment in the game. You don't have a lot of time to think about it. You just go out and play. Kids will go out and play. They don't think about it. If he's not able to play next week, tell our listeners how much an effect psychologically that has on kids when they look over and their best player they've looked up to and follow isn't out there now that they've had a few days to think about it.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, I think it's worse when it happens. I'm gonna go back to a game in 2010 when we had Dawson Verhines, and most people in Southern Illinois are familiar with Dawson. He was a big part of our 2010 team. Not only was he our quarterback, he was our leading tackler at inside linebacker. and he was just everything to us. We had a good team that year, but Dawson was the straw that stirred the drink, as they say. And when he went down in the first quarter, our kids were like deer in headlights. And, you know, I heard you guys brag a little bit on Trey Witches. That was Trey Witches' coming out party. He went in the game, and Trey was so nervous that we didn't even want him to try to hand the ball off. He was more comfortable throwing the football. And I think Johnny Hollis can relate to that now, because, you know, he wants the ball now, wants to throw it. But he came out and threw 4 straight passes in his first 4 plays and completed them and calmed our team down. We were able to pull that game out, and then really held us to game against Johnson City the next week too. So if you have a kid like that can step up, you know, and Trey as a sophomore did that for us and gave our seniors some confidence in him, somebody is going to have to step up for Chase Taylor, whether it's going to be a Dylan Rankin or the Farr kid or whoever it is saying, you know, guys, don't worry, we're going to be okay. We got to do this for Chase. We'll get him back. We're going to have him in the playoffs. That's what you got to have.
Around the area last night, we'll go to the river first. DuQuoin 0-2, left on the side of the road like garbage after 2 weeks. Have won 4 in a row with a big win against Carterville. You saw DuQuoin. Are they back to being the normal DuQuoin that everybody is used to?
No, this is not your father's DuQuoin team. They are still well coached. They still tackle well. They still do all the fundamentals. You know, how many times do you see a wing T team play without a fullback? They don't have a fullback, Danny, and they're getting it done, and they're finding a way to do it. The defense is not a dominating defense. They're not big up front like they have been in the past with a dominating defensive tackle like the Hamburger kid or just names from the past. But they're a good team, and they're like a swarm of bees defensively. They hit hard, they tackle well. So it's not your father's DuQuoin, but it's a very good DuQuoin team, and I hope nobody's surprised that they are where they are right now.
Speaking of that, because they have Pinckneyville next week at Pinckneyville, they should be able to win that one. Then they have, in Week 8, as I scroll down the list, they're going to have Nashville at home. They should win that one before going to Murphy. Legitimate 7-2, 6-3 for DuQuoin as their year winds down. Another game last night that Harrisburg beating Heron 48-14. Is that Harrisburg's offense, is that good, or is that a Heron team kind of young and beat up right now?
Well, I saw Harrisburg play once this year, Danny, and that was against Marion. That was not a good day for Harrisburg, and that was a matchup thing. They just did not match up well against the Wildcats. Harrisburg is better than what they showed that day. Harrisburg's very versatile. You know, you think about Harrisburg and the T and the running game, but, you know, with the Roper kid at quarterback, and they have a nice spread package, and they can throw the ball around a lot on you as well. So I think that it's a combination of things. Heron is young, and Harrisburg's very good.
Around to the South 7 last night, the close games. Of course, Mount Vernon lost by 7. Marion goes to Altoff, gets a 10-point win after they've struggled the last 2 weeks. And then Centralia goes to Cahokia and beats them 8-0 on the road. This conference, I know you're primarily a Black Diamond coach, but over the years you've kind of watched this conference. This conference has grown up, top to bottom. It's as tough as it gets in Southern Illinois.
Well, it sure is. I like hearing Kerry talk. They used to have that game at Centralia. They could take a breather. Boy, you can't anymore, can you? You know, that Centralia team is tough, and there are no breathers. You know, you've got Mount Vernon that was struggling at first. They go to Marion and had a good chance to beat them, as you saw. And then last night, I was just very curious in the game last night. I was getting your scores. If Carbondale did what they did against Heron and kind of chucked the running game and just started throwing the ball around a lot the second half, because I saw that score change in a hurry.
Speaking of games, today there are 2 more left in our area. Hamilton County is at CZR in the homecoming game for CZR. Bearcats at 1-4, still battling there. Big game in Benton today. West Frankfort at Benton in the Great Ranger tailgate. That one there has got a lot on the line, not only for Benton looking to go to 6-0, but Frankfort looking to crawl back into playoff consideration with Brian Berry as the head coach.
Yeah, I'll be at that one. I'm friends with Brian, and I really admire what he's done. You know, taking that program. You know, he had it made at Johnson City football school, coming off a 9-0 season, and he had aspirations of building something there at a school that was struggling, and he's doing a good job. I'm looking forward to seeing the progress of his team. You know, they're up against it today. You know, Benton's very talented. Like I told you guys last week, I've seen them too, and they're very, very talented. And Claude Felder and his staff, they know what they're doing, and they'll put Benton in a good position to win today. And it's going to be tough on Frankfort.
You're heading to that game. You're heading to that game next week, Week 7. Any hints on where you might be going next week?
You know, I know where I'd like to go, but I believe my daughter is going to have a performance at halftime of the Sesser-Valier game. So I believe I'll be making my first appearance at a Sesser-Valier football game this year, and I'd be happy to talk about that as well.
Well, you got to do what you got to do. If you didn't have that one, what other game was piquing your interest next week?
You know what? I had not looked. I had my preseason schedule. I hadn't looked ahead. Is Benton and Harrisburg next week?
No, Benton and Harrisburg's week 8 at Harrisburg.
Week 8.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. I think Benton and Harrisburg, of course, would have been the choice had they been week 7. I'll be there in week 8 for sure. But I'll take a look at it, and if she doesn't perform at halftime, I'll take a look. But if not, I'll see a good game with Carmine and Sesser-Valier.
Right. Final question. We always like to ask this, our social media question of the week. This week's question is, the Ryder Cup is in Chicago this weekend going on right now, big event in the sporting world. We ask you, what is the one sporting event that you would like to attend to knock it off your sports bucket list?
Yeah, 15 years ago, that would have been an easy question. Now I'm torn between two. But since I've been a little boy, I've always wanted to go to the Rose Bowl, to see the pageantry of it. I always want to see the Big Ten champ play the Pac-10 champ. Of course, it's not always that way now, of course. But I've always wanted to see the Rose Bowl. But since I've become a Bill Belichick follower and a Patriots fan, I'd love to see a Patriot home game as well. So if I was given the choice between the two, I'm not sure what I'd pick.
That's all right. That's the way it is. I got a whole list that I haven't been to. Ryder Cup for me got knocked off this week going to practice, but there's a whole list of things like you I'd like to go to.
Yes, sir.
Hey. Okay, John, thanks for joining us this morning again. Once again, we'll have you on again next week, talk about that Carmine SVWW football game, and we really appreciate what you add to our program each week with the games you go to.
Hey, I look forward to it, guys.
All right, John Shadowens, our WMIX sports correspondent. He was at the Johnson City at El Dorado football game last night, a game in which Johnson City won 26-20. If you're looking for scores, here they are. We'll go with the three conferences we cover mainly in our region. The South 7, Carbondale over Mount Vernon, 35-28. Marion over Altoff, 28-18. Centralia over Kokia, 8-0. And River to River, Harrisburg over Heron, 48-14. Murfreesboro over Massac, 38-28. AJ over Sparta, 37-22. DuQuoin over Carterville, 35-20. And Nashville over Pinckneyville, 23-22. And the Black Diamond, Carmi over Vienna, 14-13. Chester over Alvarado Trico, 48-0. Johnston City over El Dorado, 26-20. And SVWWB Fairfield, 26-20 as well. Go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/WMIX Sports. We have all the scores from last night listed in order, divided up by conference. So you do not have to piddle through and go through and wonder where all these scores come from and who's wearing what. Also follow us on Twitter at WMIX Sports. We'll wrap up Week 6 later on in the show, and we'll talk about Week 7, a preview. Of course, Mount Vernon hosts Cahokia next Friday night. Marion's at Centralia. I'll give a little preview now. Why not, right? Other big games on the docket next week that I look through going down the list. Carmi at Sesser-Valier, Waltonville, Woodlawn. Another big game. El Dorado at Chester. Johnston City at Fairfield at the train yard. That will be interesting. We'll preview some more of that later on in the show. We remind you of another sports event coming up this week at Mount Vernon High School, Shagnon Gymnasium. It's the benefit to Mount Vernon Township High School Special Olympics / Project Unify this Wednesday night, 6:30 at Shagnon Gym. If you know of someone who would like to compete in the free throw, 3-point dunk contest, 1, 2, or all 3 events to win cash prizes, this event is for them. Admission for non-participants is $3 with a student ID, $5 for adults, and raffle tickets will be available for an autographed Dwight Howard Orlando Magic shirt. That'll be this Wednesday night at Shagnon Gymnasium. Hard to believe, but October is Monday. Of course, October in Mount Vernon means Mount Vernon Teacher Conference later on in the month. That'll be going on at Mount Vernon Township High School. You can set your calendar by. It happens every year and right around the end of October. With that said, we need to step out for a break. When we come back, we'll change sports gears a little bit, and we're going to venture on to the pitch. We're going to have Jeff Harrison, Mount Vernon boys soccer coach, on to join us, talk about Mount Vernon Rams soccer this fall season. You're listening to the Saturday Sports Show, brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
And we'll be back to talk some soccer back in a few.
Southern Illinois has a new home for the Dan Patrick Show, Jim Rome, and Fox Sports Radio. The new 1300, The Fan.
I like that.
Dan Patrick.
I think if you suck, you should be able to practice a little bit more than somebody else. There should be a sliding scale.
Sports Talk, Fueled by fans.
It doesn't matter if LeBron wins not 1, not 2, not 5, not 7. The Hater Nation will always be coming for him.
The new 1300 The Fan. Another Withers broadcasting station. Online at 1300thefan.com.
Hey there, I'm Jennifer, and I love living in Southern Illinois. But whenever I got sick, I used to think the best medical care was far away. I had no clue that some of the most advanced medical care was right here the whole time. Good Samaritan is my new hospital of choice because they combine exceptional response times, first-class facilities, and an outstanding patient experience. Good Samaritan partners with physician specialists and invests in the latest medical technology. They deliver the best care where I need it most, locally. Now more than ever, they offer local residents like me a convenient alternative to bigger out-of-state hospitals where I'm a number, not a name. This saves me time, money, and keeps my family close, which out-of-state hospitals will never be able to provide. And in 2013, that care will get even better when they open the all-new Regional Health Center. It's that kind of investment that ensures we'll never have to leave home to receive the care we need.
Good Samaritan Regional Health Center. Raising a hospital, raising the bar.
The tradition of fine vehicles and great service continues at Second Chance Auto. They've been providing quality cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs for families like yours for over 32 years, and many are priced under $10,000. Plus, most have a 3-month or 3,000-mile warranty. Bank rate financing available with instant approval. No gimmicks, no pressure, just honest deals on great vehicles from your friends and neighbors at Second Chance Auto, living and contributing back to the community they serve. Located on Route 142 East in Mount Vernon, or call 244-4582.
Welcome back. Saturday Sports Show on AM 940 WMIX, as well as streamed live on mywithersradio.com. I'm Denny Zerwinski, alongside with Jeff Crow, pushing the buttons. Chris Hugo and Mike Richardson away on assignment. We switch gears now from the football field to the soccer pitch, and we bring along to join us this morning Mount Vernon boys soccer coach Jeff Harrison. And, Coach, thanks for joining us this morning. This is odd for you not having a soccer match on a Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of sweet having a Saturday off.
You get a Saturday off on a beautiful day. And I want to go back to the beginning of the year. Your team opened up with something a little different most teams had to deal with. One of your better players, Joel Duncan, has an opportunity to go do something else, decides not to play for your team. Talk about that situation that went on and how your team has handled that so far this season.
Well, it was something that I knew he had kind of been considering, not as seriously as it became over the summer. So it didn't totally catch me off guard, but of course I was, a little surprised to hear that it had happened, but was totally understanding of the situation. He's an extremely talented player who's got really big hopes, and the situation with these academy teams has changed on the format of how they play. They have a longer season, and this is something that was done by, U.S. national soccer as a whole, to try and develop the talent to be able to compete with the rest of the world. And they decided that these kids needed to have a longer academy season to be able to have some more high-level training, high-level competition in order to develop these kids' skill sets. And not only does the IHSA make the kids have to make a choice, but the academy made the kids have to make a choice. They don't give them the option of being able to do one or the other. The seasons overlap, and it was basically one of those deals to where you better get your spot if you want your spot, or somebody else will take it. And the kid went for it, and I don't blame him at all. And oddly enough, on my Saturday, I'm going to head over to Collinsville, where their home site is, and watch Joel play today against a team from Chicago, the Chicago Fire, their MLS developmental team. And, it's always disappointing to lose a kid of that caliber. And, of course, the kids on the team were disappointed to not have him on the field with them. But they got over that pretty quick because they were really excited to know that the talent like that from our area is being recognized. They were very supportive of Joel and his decision. I mean, he's still in school. He's still a classmate. He's still a buddy of all these guys. And, as disappointed as we were to hear the news that we weren't going to be able to have him, we switched gears on that pretty quick, and we're pretty excited for the opportunity that he had ahead of himself.
Speaking of that opportunity, your team goes on. For our listeners who have been to matches or may want to know more about your team, talk about your team's season so far.
Well, right now we're 5-8, and people that haven't seen us play or know very little about our team, they can look at a 5-8 record and draw whatever conclusions they want. But right now, I have got an extremely talented team. We're in the middle of one of the most competitive seasons that we've ever had. The losses that we've got, I think, 4 one-goal losses, 2 of them to Carbondale. We just had an overtime match against Carbondale Thursday night. Went into the end of regulation, tied 1 apiece. We play 2 mandatory 10-minute overtime periods. They managed to get a goal on us. We couldn't counter that. But anybody that's not been around, I've been around since year 1 of this program. I missed a few years in the middle whenever I was going away to school, but I've seen the bad. I've seen the real bad, and those are things of the past. The style of play that we have, the talent and skill that we have on the field is so far beyond what it used to be. Kids have really developed in this area to where, we compete with these guys who used to just walk all over us. We've played Carbondale for 180 minutes on the field this year between our 2 matches, and we've given up 3 goals to them. Years past, they would have had 3 goals in 3 minutes. So subtle changes like that, if you haven't been there to see us get the true, eye test instead of just maybe what you read in the paper, you look at our record and figure how things have played out. We are very competitive. We're a very talented team. We've just been a little unfortunate that late in games, when we're playing these other really talented teams, we haven't gotten those, kind of a lucky break that you need on occasion to be able to find the back of the net to get that capitalizing goal. And really, that's been the only difference for us between being a 5-8 team or even an 8-5 team or even 9-4. We've got some games that we feel like we had the opportunity to get the W on that we let slip away late, had some bad moments. But on the whole, I couldn't be prouder of these guys with the way things played out from the guys that we lost last year. I've got 7 new starters that are on the field out of my 11. 7 of my 10 that play the field, I was able to return my goalkeeper. These were not inexperienced kids as far as playing the game of soccer, but inexperienced in the sense of playing varsity minutes. A lot of these guys did not play heavy varsity minutes last year, and it was a big step up. It took a little while to get adjusted to their new role, to the pace of the game. Once we got the season rolling after those first couple games, we've been pretty locked in, and we've just been missing that. I think it's that lack of experience that scoring goals is the toughest part of the game, and that little bit of experience we've been lacking. It has been showing in that area. But defensively, we've been as solid as we've ever been. We've only given up 4 goals in 2 games. 3 goals in 2 other games, and beyond that, we've had 1 and 2 goal games. And our lack of experience on the offensive side has we've been able to get away with that because we've been so solid on our back line, and they've kept us in games all the way down to the end. So, I'm pretty pleased with how things have played out so far this year.
You mentioned that you've been around this program since the beginning, and in that time, you've been there, left, came back. The curve to catch up with other schools who had soccer before Mount Vernon, is the Mount Vernon soccer program catching up faster or probably at the pace you thought of as far as catching up to that curve to catch up with other teams who've had the program longer?
To be truthful, the way those early years played out, I didn't think we'd ever catch up. They were so dominating compared to the way we played. Every year you could see who their most talented kids were, and you'd watch them graduate, and you'd think, maybe now we can get at these guys. And no quicker than that, they would have a huge crop of freshmen or sophomores that developed more over that year, and their talent they just changed bodies. It was very consistent on how skilled their players were, and we were kind of getting good players in spurts. We'd have maybe a certain class that had some kids that had played a little bit or had some athleticism. But I really didn't think that we would ever be able to get to the point of being able to consistently compete with those guys. And across the last 5 years or so, it's really changed. It's changed a lot. We've had very competitive games against these guys who used to just dominate us. They looked forward to playing us. It was going to be an opportunity for them to pad their stats. They knew they were going to get a win. It was going to be a fun day for them. And these teams don't want to see us anymore because not only do we have the ability to take them down, but my kids play intense. We play, as physical as we can within the rules of the game, just like any good high school team does. And, those are the types of things that will help you move forward. And the kids have been very responsive to it. It excites them and makes them want to work harder, knowing that these guys that have walked all over us in the past, that we can get them. We're motivated to see Carbondale, motivated to see Marion and Althoff. And those guys don't look forward to us in the way that they used to in the past because they know if they're going to beat us, it's going to have to be earned, and it certainly won't be given to them.
3 seed in the Carbondale Regional come postseason time. We'll end up with the last question. When you're doing our show, we have our WMIX Sports social media question of the week. And with the Ryder Cup going on, a lot of people headed there like myself this week to watch that. What sporting event would you like to attend to officially cross that off your sports bucket list of attending?
Oh, man, could somebody get me a ticket to the World Cup in Rio?
Hey, are you talking about just watching soccer or just enjoying the culture of Rio, as they say?
I think either one would be just fine and pretty enjoyable. If you got to do both simultaneously, I think that'd be a pretty top-notch experience.
Hey, well, it would be as well. Hey, Jeff, thanks for joining us. Wish you nothing but the best the rest of the year, and we'll be talking in the future about not only the boys' soccer team, but the girls' soccer team as well.
Sounds great, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Jeff Harrison, Mount Vernon boys soccer coach, joined us on the Saturday Sports Show. We need to take a break. We'll step out and come back with Weber Township baseball coach Sam Root. His team is playing in the Midland Trail Conference Tournament this week in Woodlawn. You're listening to the Saturday Sports Show. It's brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Back for more here on WMIX.
The state of denial is a drag and a trial. When I bought my cheap insurance, should have known this day would come. Now I've had an accident and I'm feeling quite alone. Called them at least 20 times, but they won't pick up the phone. Without personal service, my policy's kind of worthless. Get to a better state, State Farm.
Don't deny yourself to call an agent. Tony Wilt in Mount Vernon, 242-1421.
Protect yourself and the ones you love by getting a flu shot at the Medicine Shop Pharmacy. It's the smart and healthy thing to do. Just walk right in. No appointments necessary and no prescription from your doctors required. The shot is covered under Medicare Part B. Here's pharmacist and pharmacy owner Eric Black.
We have a seasonal flu shot event, which is not just one day, but usually 4 or 5 days that we schedule nurses to come in and give shots. I can also give shots to anybody who can't make those specific days, for example.
Get your flu vaccine between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Save these dates in September, Tuesday the 18th and 25th, and in October, Thursday the 4th and 18th. If you're homebound, every effort will be made to schedule a home visit. Call us if you require this service. The Medicine Shop Pharmacy, 2339 Broadway in Mount Vernon.
Grooving on to the last half hour of Saturday Sports Show on WMIX. Standing Zawinski with Jeff Crow alongside Chris Hugo and Mike Richardson on assignment. A lot of times when we get into this part of the season and schedule in sports, a lot of attention obviously focused primarily on football. Of course, you have golf, volleyball, cross country, tennis going on as well. But a little side note across the way, there is some bastion of high school fall baseball going on at Weber Township High School. They've had a very good fall so far, so we thought we'd have on Sam Root, the head baseball coach of the Weber Township Trojans. And Coach Root, how's it going this morning?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, you've had a good fall so far. Last year in a regional final, lost to Gallatin County. How much of that experience playing that regional final had bolted over into this fall baseball season for your team?
Well, I'll tell you what. It's just, we've been fortunate enough to have some success and build a solid program the last 3 or 4 years. And I just think it helps, if you play as many good teams as possible throughout the fall or spring and as many pressure-packed games, as possible. We've actually played in 2 regional finals in a row the last 2 springs, and we came up short. But we had another big conference game with North Clay last week that didn't come out on our end. That was for the regular season conference title, and then hopefully we'll have one this week. But you just want to play as many, like I said, you want to have as many pressure moments as you can. Hopefully you'll learn how to succeed in those.
And in your fall schedule, not only at the Midland Trail Conference, you've also scheduled up with some non-conference schools as well to beef up that schedule. Talk about some of the non-conference teams you played this fall.
Well, we just we try to take on the mentality we'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime. Within reason of driving distance and stuff. We played Teotopolis twice. They came down for varsity JV at the start of the year, and then we played them in Cobden down at Red Lake last Saturday. We've had Effingham St. Anthony on the schedule twice. South Central went to the NTC National Trail, but we still played them in non-conference. And I think we played. We had 18 games, regular season games this fall. And then when you're only really playing a 5-week period, that's about as many as we can probably get. And then, like I said, we're in the conference tournament right now.
That conference tournament at Woodlawn, and earlier in the week before the rain came, Sandoval sprung the upset 6-5 for listeners who may not be familiar with what's going on out there. Talk about the tournament this week, not only for your team, but what's been going on there as well.
Yeah, well, we started Monday. There's 7 teams. Like I said, North Clay got us in 9 innings. It was 0-0 going to the 9th last Thursday, and they got us in the 9th. They had the bye, the number 1 seed, Louisville North Clay. We were the 2, and we beat Oden, the 7th seed, 12-2 Monday. Sandoval did get 6-3 upset over Woodlawn over at Woodlawn. And Sisney beat Noble Clay City co-ops for fall baseball. So basically, we've been pushed back for 3 days now because of the rain and their field not draining well. And so we're on a Monday-Wednesday format of this week. Semifinals Monday. Sisney and North Clay will play at 4:30 at Chapman Field. And then that'll follow up with us and Sandoval playing at 7 p.m. And then on Wednesday, you'll have your third-place game at 4:30, and the championship game will be at 7 o'clock, still at Chapman.
And all at Chapman Park and Woodlawn, a lot of thing. When you talk about fall baseball, there's not a lot of schools that do that anymore. Back in the day, Waltonville, Woodlawn, Weber, Wayne City all had fall baseball at a conference. The SEC down south has it. Is it getting to a point where maybe the fall baseball is kind of on the way out, or is it going to be a stable thing that maybe will hang around with the teams that are doing it now?
I sure hope not. I know we are down to 7 teams in our conference. A couple of them did away with it a few years ago. And I went down here. It sounds like there was even more teams back then. But I think you have enough of us that are passionate enough about it that even if we hope it never gets to the point to where you have to move your conference this spring, and I don't think it will. But I think you have enough of us that are passionate enough about it that we'll continue to play a non-conference schedule or get something active. Because really, without football, we need something need to offer our boys as much as possible to do in the fall, and it just helps us so much when you're maybe relying on freshmen and sophomores to play varsity. You're just getting another season of experience, and basically instead of playing 30, 35 in the spring, we're getting to play 50, 55, 60 games total, and like we always say, or I always try to say, by spring, freshmen or sophomores and so on. So there's a lot of experience needed, and it's good for the kids to get out and play more games, obviously.
And that's so very important, as you mentioned, because that fall baseball, you get an early start, and you get to see what you've got in the fall, whereas a lot of times when you get in the spring, weather comes in, factors come in, you don't get as many games in. It may take all spring for kids to get in. Your kids are ready to go when they walk in the spring for practice, aren't they?
Yeah, we especially we try to have somewhere for every kid to play in the summer, and we started actually our Legion team back up in Blueford, and this past summer we fielded the Legion team, and we had a couple kids from Woodlawn come over. Any of the other smaller schools, we had a couple kids from Mount Vernon. We had any of the smaller schools in the area welcome if they can some try out, and we're going to try to keep that Legion going strong every summer. Brad Austin and Dave Mosier ran that for us, and that's another big thing for us. If we can keep the Legion program going, then you're playing another 30 games, and we just want to, you want to play as much as possible, and and that's how you get developed and eventually strengthen your program. But fall season's a great thing. Like I said, since you can't offer football, you want it's an important thing to be able to give kids the option to play. Plus, when we schedule up in the spring and play a lot of schools bigger than us, that allows maybe us to have certain pitching matchups in our favor.
Speaking of scheduling up, our final question to you, we usually have our WMIX Sports social media question of the week, and this week's question is, we want to know, with the Ryder Cup going on, that's a big sporting event for people to attend. For you, what's the one sporting event you would like to attend to knock it off your sports bucket list?
I'd like to go to the Olympics, and I've never had a chance to do that yet. I think any time you can, you're getting USA versus the world, I don't think it can be much more competitive than that, so I'd like to go to the Olympics sometime.
Would you want to go to the summer or the winter, or does it matter?
Definitely summer.
Okay. Is there what sport in the summer you would have to go see if you did go to that event?
Man, you're putting me on the spot here. Let's see. We're going to say probably beach volleyball first, but think I'd like to. Basketball, anything I would think, but we'll go with basketball. How about that?
Okay. Coach, thanks for joining us. Wish you nothing but the best next week. Bring back that Midland Trail Conference Tournament Championship to Weber and cap off the fall baseball season the way it should be done.
Hey, I appreciate the time, okay? Thanks a lot.
All right. Sam Root, head baseball coach at Weber Township High School. They were playing in the Midland Trail Conference Tournament next week at Woodlawn. Of course, that tournament was pushed back due to rain this week. Monday night, Sisney North Clay will play first. Weber Township and Sandoval. And then Wednesday will be the place games, third place and first place. All those games going on at Chapman Park and Woodlawn. We need to step out for a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up Week 6 of high school football. Talk about Week 7. We're going to mention also some of the sports going on in the area today as far as high school sports. Talk some national as well as we wrap up. The Saturday Sports Show brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Back for more on WMIX.
America is a nation on wheels. Everyone has at least one automobile. We use them for shopping, work, everything we do. But they can be a threat. Some accidents can't be prevented. Your professional Pekin Insurance Agency, Page Insurance on Crown View in Mount Vernon, can help protect you from a large financial loss when an accident happens. Call Page Insurance today at 242-7000 about low-cost auto insurance from Pekin Insurance. Ask them about the many money-saving discounts that are available. Depend on your hometown professionals.
Pekin Insurance.
Southern Illinois has a new home for the Dan Patrick Show. Jim Rome and Fox Sports Radio. The new 1300, The Fan.
I like that.
Dan Patrick.
What are you bringing back for us? I'm singing a couple of gold medals. There should be a couple of them just hanging around. These guys go to the bar and put it down.
Sports talk, fueled by fans.
The best smack talker in all of sports lost to the best fighter in all of MMA Saturday.
The new 1300 The Fan. Another Withers broadcasting station. Online at 1300thefan.com. When an emergency happens, time is everything, and you don't want to spend that time in a waiting room. So choose Crossroads Community Hospital with our 30 minutes or less ER service pledge. The entire team is committed to working diligently to have you initially seen by a physician, physician assistant, or nurse practitioner within 30 minutes of your arrival. When minutes matter, choose the ER that doesn't waste time. Choose Crossroads Community Hospital. Visit crossroadscommunityhospital.com/faster to learn more. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, call 911.
Gahim, as they like to say on other things. So Saturday Sports Show on AM 940 WMIX. Streamed live on mywithersradio.com. Denny Zawinski with Jeff Crow alongside Chris Hugo and Mike Richardson away on assignment this week. And we wrap up Week 6 with all kinds of things. Of course, 2 more games in the area today. Hamilton County is at CZR. That's at 12 o'clock. And West Frankfort at Benton at 2 o'clock. So if you're good and can drive in the speed limit, you can go to Christopher and watch the 12 o'clock game. Depending on how that goes, you can slide out and watch 2 o'clock kickoff at Benton if you're a football junkie on that deal. And I think SIU is at home tonight, too, as well, Indiana State. So you can maybe do a triple header if you're lucky. Anyway, Week 7 of high school football, of course, Kokia at Mount Vernon next week. It's homecoming at Mount Vernon High School. The Rams will be at home next Friday night at 7 o'clock. You can listen to that game here on AM 940 WMIX or watch it live on mywithersradio.com, beginning with the pregame at 6:40. Other games of interest. Altoff is at Carbondale, a battle of two teams trying to hang around and get in the playoffs. Marion is at Centralia. That's probably the game, I would say, game of the week. Centralia's 6-0. Marion's 5-1. That's all on the line next week at Centralia, Eversfield. Place will be rocking. River to River Conference. Benton will be at Massac County. West Frankfort at Harrisburg, as Benton and Harrisburg moving towards that Week 8 matchup at Taylor Field in Harrisburg for the Ohio Division title. Both teams should win next week. They should be both 4-0. If Benton can win today against Frankfort, both teams should be 4-0 after next week going into Week 8. And then Heron at Murfreesboro as the Tigers try to right that ship down there. Nashville at AJ, the Wildcats. But the Wildcats are 5-1. Nobody knows. It's quiet. Sparta is at Carterville. The Lions 3-3. They're going to try to get back on a roll. And DuQuoin will try to return the favor to Pinckneyville, as last year Pinckneyville beat DuQuoin in their first year having a turf field. So DuQuoin will try to return the favor next week at Pinckneyville. We'll see what happens, as the Battle of the Buku will go on next week in Perry County between DuQuoin and Pinckneyville. And the Black Diamond, Carmi is at SVWW. That's probably the game of the week, one of the games of the week in the Black Diamond Conference. Red Devils looking to crawl above the 500 mark after a 3-3 start. El Dorado was at Chester. The Eagles try to right the ship against conference champ. Well, it should be conference champ and playoff team Chester. El Dorado Tricles at Hamilton County next week. Johnston City at Fairfield in another big football game next week. And then a Saturday afternoon game, CZR is at Vienna at 1 p.m. in high school football. And we have to mention that the Weber Township baseball team is having a softball tourney, washer tourney, and fish fry fundraiser on Saturday, October 13th. We'll get that out. We'll get more information out there on that for you as well. We find out stuff. Have to mention that Sam Root texting back in, letting us know. And yes, you did hear that right. Those of you listening, that Benton-Harrisburg game will be for the Ohio Division Conference Championship, more than likely, because both teams should be undefeated going into that one. Speaking of that, will wrap up Week 7 of high school football. Let's wrap up high school in general. We'll look around the area. The Mount Vernon cross-country teams are at the Peoria Invitational today. That is a huge invitational cross-country this weekend at Peoria at Detweiler Park. That gives teams an opportunity to run on the state cross-country course. That's a nice little thing to have there. Of course, we mentioned high school football. High school boys golf, Altoff, Centralia, Carbondale, Marion, the Muscuda Invitational today. High school boys soccer, Centralia's at Marion. There's some volleyball tournaments going on at Marion, Sparta, and Triad. All kinds of things going on in what is turning out to be an absolutely gorgeous Saturday afternoon here in the King City as well as Southern Illinois. The weather is perfect to get out and do about anything, and as everybody knows, once we go into fall, things start happening. So that's your high school wrap-up as far as that goes. Now, we transition to the junior high because there is all kinds of things going on in the junior high today. The SIJHSAA, so I got all the letters, there we go, is having their baseball and softball state tournaments this weekend. SIJHSAA. And we have two teams from the area heading to state tournament today. They both play ironically at the same site, same place, same time. Two different fields, obviously. In baseball, Dodds has advanced to the state tournament. Dodds Grade School here in Jefferson County. They will play in Coulterville at 1:30 today. Dodds is taking on St. Peter Paul of Waterloo at 1:30 p.m. at the Coulterville Park. And we also know that St. Peter and St. Paul is usually pretty good over there. That's for another topic, another time. The winner of that game will play on Wednesday at 3 p.m. against the winner of Patoka and Century, two teams that usually have baseball powers. As I look, there are 3 private schools of 8 teams in Class S baseball. Yeah.
Does that surprise you?
No. Just I'm stating a fact. That's all I'm doing.
Okay.
So Dodds, we wish Dodds nothing but the best. We want them to bring back that Class S state championship trophy and beat and win 3 more games and do that Class S baseball. On the other side of things, another Jefferson County team is in the Class S softball state tournament today, as the Woodlawn Lady Warriors softball team, coached by Matt Patterson, will head back. They are looking to repeat as Class S state champions. They play at 1:30 today at the same time against Steelville at Coulterville. So we'd like to see a lot of red and black there for Dodds. We'd like to see a lot of blue and white there for Woodlawn. And we'd like to see both schools' fans cheer each other on there at 1:30. The fields sit side by side for those of you who have or haven't been to Coulterville. Sit there, cheer on each other, cheer on Dodge, cheer on Woodlawn. Let's get 2 state championship trophies back to Jefferson County where they belong. And the winner of the Woodlawn-Steelville game today at 1:30 will play at 3 o'clock on Wednesday against the Our Lady of Mount Carmel Heron and Noble game, which will follow that one at 3:30. So we wish Woodlawn and Dodds nothing but the best. Bring back those state championship trophies. You can keep track of those games, and we'll have tweets of the games and what's going on our Twitter at WMIX Sports. You can follow along as we'll have updates from those games as they're being played at Coulterville. We'll post finals on our Facebook page, facebook.com/WMIX Sports. Later this afternoon, this evening, of finals of those games. We hope both teams win those. Next week, golf postseason begins for boys and girls golf. Tuesday and Wednesday, golf will be going on at golf courses around the area. Mount Vernon, Woodlawn, Waltonville, of course, from our county, will be participating in regionals from Centralia to Mount Vernon to Effingham to who knows where. So you can follow us on Facebook. We will have that listed for you as we go along because golf is here. It's amazing as you sit here and you go through things and you look at this, school starts, the anticipation for football goes on, and then all of a sudden, we're 2/3 of the way into high school, or I should say into the football season with it being over. And then we are at the end of the golf season, all the conference tournaments for last week. Hard to believe that happens so quickly. And we look, Nashville hosts a boys regional. We mentioned that. At Robinson, that's where Woodlawn will go on Tuesday, October 2nd. Woodlawn will go there. Waltonville will go to the AJ Regional in boys golf. And we look around, we'll go to 2A. We'll go to the Mount Vernon Rams. I believe the Mount Vernon Rams, if I can remember right, head to O'Fallon as I talk to myself. I'll look here. Nope, let me find them. Where'd they go? They're hiding on me. No, Mount Vernon is at Effingham, the Effingham Country Club on Tuesday, October 2nd. It's the girls that play at O'Fallon next week. I do remember that now. Play at Tamarack Golf Course. So that goes on. Woodlawn, Waltonville also playing as we move along. We're checking things out as we go on the fly, as we kind of like to do around here once in a while. Everything printed out for us on the internet. Woodlawn will play at the Centralia Regional next week, along with Waltonville. That's a 1A regional. Salem also hosting a regional as I fly through things. AJ also hosts a regional as well. So you see there's all kinds of golf action next Tuesday and Wednesday, regional play going on. The weather should be delightful, as they like to say, as the weather should be pretty clear and sunny next week, according to early forecasts. The Mount Vernon Lady Rams next week will be at O'Fallon on Wednesday at Tamarack Golf Course in Shiloh. So that'll get you caught up on golf. That opens up next week. We need to take, one more break, Mr. Crow? He says one more. So because he tells me I have to take a break, I will. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up some national sports going on, sporting events, and get our schedule lined up for next week to let you know what we're going to be broadcasting here at WMIX. You're listening to the Saturday Sports Show brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
We'll be back for the final segment here on Saturday Sports Show.
Have you ever been traveling out of town and realized you needed cash? Using another bank's ATM can cost you a few extra dollars in fees to get the cash you need. Well, not anymore. People's National Bank introduces MoneyPass. MoneyPass allows you to use over 23,000 additional ATMs in the United States without any fees. Stop by People's National Bank. Visit peoplesnationalbank.com or moneypass.com to find out more information. People's National Bank, providing our customers the highest quality products and services since 1909. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Have you ever wondered what you could do with $8,000? Hi, Roy Schmidt Ford dealer, Ford Square, Mount Vernon. $8,000 is exactly what you'll save off of MSRP on a diesel F-250 Crew Cab 4x4 or an F-150 Super Cab 4x4 when financing with Ford Motor Credit. The F-150 is a true wonder of the automotive world with towing and hauling capabilities perfect for farm equipment and the entire family. The F-250 Diesel Crew Cab 4x4 boasts 6.7-liter Power-Stroke turbo diesel engine with best-in-class power and fuel economy, as well as clean and quiet operation. Come see one of our sales associates to save big money and drive away in a Ford F-Series or any Ford Lincoln model, new or pre-owned, at Ford Square 1501 Broadway in Mount Vernon, online at fordsquare.com, and find us on Facebook.
You can count on us. Yes, you can.
Good tune. Saturday Sports Show final segment. Chris Hugo, Mike Richardson on assignment. I'm Denny Zerwinski hosting, along with Jeff Crow pushing the buttons to my right. We finish up the last segment. Talk about some of the things going on in college world. Obviously, college football, big thing going on today around everywhere, a game everywhere. Obviously, that's not a shock here on a late September day. We go into Major League Baseball. We mentioned the Yankees are up a game on Baltimore. Detroit's up a game on the White Sox. Texas up 3 on Oakland. Washington has clinched. Atlanta's 4 behind. Cincinnati is going to be your NL Central champs. San Francisco is your NL West champs. We look to the wild card standings, because obviously that's another thing that everybody's worried about. Baltimore has a 2-game lead, or actually Baltimore and Oakland are tied. 2-game lead over Los Angeles, so those two teams will play for the wild card. Atlanta and St. Louis. St. Louis has a 3-game lead over the Dodgers, so it's starting to filter out more and more, looking like it's going to be the Cardinals and the Braves in the NL wild card, and the A's and Orioles in the AL wild card, unless something strange happens. But anyway, that's going on in MLB baseball. Hard to believe that season wraps up this weekend, next week, and then the playoffs start next weekend. We're going to be talking playoff baseball next week. Of course, you can listen to all the Cardinal games on FM 94.1 WMIX. I believe the Cardinals are at home tonight as well. Of the thrashing of the Nationals last night, the Cardinals will be at home. Let's just check to be sure so I don't tell you any wrong information. Are on the night at 6:15. First pitch here on, or I should say on 94.1 WMIX. If you're a Cubs fan, you can listen to it on Wish FM 98.9. The Cubs at Arizona tonight at 7:10. And then tomorrow, as we move around to the NFL, of course, we have St. Louis Rams football tomorrow. So I have to look and get things going. The Rams are at home tomorrow at noon against Seattle. Seattle coming off that highly controversial win Monday night against Green Bay at home. The referees are now back in tow, so everything should be had. You can listen to that Rams game tomorrow starting at noon on right here on AM 940. So we are your home for St. Louis Rams football and St. Louis Cardinals baseball, had to think. Anyway, next week on AM 940 WMIX on Monday night, the Mount Vernon Lady Rams will be at home against Mount Carmel. They haven't played in a while. In a volleyball match, non-conference, could be a regional, could not be. Preview as Mount Vernon and Mount Carmel in the same regional at Centralia in a few weeks. You will be able to listen to that game on AM 940 or watch it live on mywithersradio.com right around 7:15, 7:20, depending on when that JV match gets over with. Chris Hugo and myself will bring you that game on the radio and the internet, and Jeff Crow will have the video of that. And then on Friday night, the Mount Vernon Rams have homecoming. They host Cahokia at 7 p.m. The pregame will be at 6:40 on AM 940, as well as you can watch it live on mywithersradio.com. I'm trying to multitask here. Don't look at me like I'm crazy. Anyway, we have the Ryder Cup going on. We'll transition out of that for your listening. We'll go into the Ryder Cup. What a big event going on in Chicago. Had a chance to attend that this week. What an experience. A rock concert plus sports equals the Ryder Cup. I can't imagine what it's like today. The U.S. got out to a 5-3 start yesterday and currently lead in 3 matches and are tied in the other. An interesting thing about that is an acquaintance of mine and a guest on this show who we're going to have hopefully on next week is Jesse Barge. He is the head pro at Kokopelli Golf Course in Marion. This is his weekend. Yesterday afternoon, he was the U.S. observer for the Bubba Watson-Webb Simpson match versus Paul Lowry and Peter Hansen. This morning, he is the referee for the Phil Mickelson, Keegan Bradley versus Luke Donald, Lee Westwood match. You'll see him walking around. In fact, there he is right there. I got it on in the studio here on the laptop. He will be an observer today in the third match of 4-ball, and 4-ball is I hit, you hit, we go down, and then we get to the green and we play our ball out, and then if your score is better than mine, we take it versus the other 2 guys. And then tomorrow, he will be involved in the third singles match. He will be either an observer, a referee, or whatever. He will be walking around. So we congratulate Jesse Barge for getting the opportunity as a golf pro at Kokopelli to get up there and be able to walk and be a part of that. That's an experience. He's done a lot of majors, done a lot of rules and majors stuff, but to get a chance to do the Ryder Cup in your own home state, we congratulate Jesse Barge, head pro at Kokopelli Golf Course in Marion, and thank him for that. As we will have him on hopefully next week or the week after to talk about his Ryder Cup experience from inside the ropes. And the USA right now rolling with 3 points in their favor this morning. Of course, Tiger Woods not playing. Man, 2 hours flies by as we're wrapping down to a minute left. We want to thank all our guests this morning who joined us. Mount Vernon football coach Jared Shaner, Marion football coach Kerry Martin, Sesser-Valier Waltonville Woodlawn coach Johnny Hollis, WMIX sports correspondent John Shadowens, Mount Vernon boys soccer coach Jeff Harrison, Weber Township baseball coach Sam Root. We thank everybody for joining us. Go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/WMIX sports. As we have a question there, we want you to like us while you're there as well. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at WMIX Sports for all the latest updates and things going on in the sports world. We wish Dodd's baseball team the best of luck today at the Class S state tournament in Coulterville. They'll play at 1:30 against St. Peter and St. Paul Waterloo. We'll also wish the best of luck to the Woodlawn Grade School girls softball team. They will play Steelville at 1:30 today at Coulterville in the Class S state tournament. Good luck to both teams and hopefully they'll bring back state championship trophies. For Jeff Crow, for myself, Danny Zwinski, and all the good folks here at Withers Broadcasting, have a good Saturday. NBC News is now.